The topic is incarceration, breaking the cycle, the revolving door cycle. And of course, we are talking to Pastor Kevin Walker, president of the New Beginnings organization. And of course, Reverend Walker, we promised that we'd give you an opportunity to talk about what could possibly be done to break the so-called revolving door cycle of young men, young women for that matter, going to prison and then getting out of prison, and then you find out again they're in prison again and they're out of prison, the so-called revolving door syndrome. What can we do, and what is being done to break that revolving door situation?
Okay, what we find out, Dr. Haney, is that in society today, there is a big roaring about people that commit crimes, go into the system, get out of the system, and then go back into the system. But what happens is a lot of things that people don't understand is, and we're talking in terms of recidivism rate or reincarceration, and a lot of those people that do go out and return back into the system, the bigger percentage of those people are people that have been paroled out of the system, paroled out of the institution, and they return back into the system, not necessarily because they committed a new crime, but majority of them are back on technical violations. And what I mean by technical violations, say you go out and you're under parole supervision, and you change jobs, and you go to another job, and you don't inform your parole officer that you changed jobs. That can be considered as a technical violation that can get you reincarcerated. And people have been reincarcerated. People go out and maybe get a dirty urine or something like that. That's a technical violation because you didn't meet the conditions of your supervision while out. So the greater number of people that are reincarcerated, that are involved in the revolving door syndrome, by their own report, the Tennessee Department of Correction, they did a report on felon releases between 1993 and 1999, and they found out that the bigger percentage of those that did return to the system were those that were released on parole, because you got different release types. You got people released on parole, people released on probation, and then those that maximize their sentences. Those that maximize their sentences have the lower reincarceration rate than those that are paroled out, as opposed to those who are on probation. So, and the reason for that again is the technical violation. Now, that's not to say that people that are paroled out don't go out and recommit crimes, but you have to look at some figures. From during the time of this report, from 1993 to 1999, 72,595 people were released. It was a system-wide release of all these number of people. Now, you got some interesting stats, and I wish I had the time to go through all of them, but just to throw one of felons released to parole, 28% fell within 1 year. So of 3,221 released in 1998, 906 of those people recommitted back to the institution. So, and within 3-year period of time, 55%, there was a 55% failure rate over a 3-year period of time. So the number says 4,000 out of 4,036 felons released in 1996, 2,233 were recommitted into institutions.
That was almost half of them.
Almost half.
Almost half of them.
And the bigger percentage of that, again, is
technical violations.
Absolutely.
Well, now, if technical violations is a problem, then how could you deal with that? Because these technical violations are supposed to be a part of the sentencing process, the parole process itself, which is to say that, yes, we are going to allow you to go on parole, but in doing so, you have to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, when these, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5s, these are the technical things that they have to do, is it not?
Yeah, those are
now,
the
how
things.
do you deal with that?
The conditions of the parole. Such as reporting on a regular basis, paying monthly parole fees and the like, of course, staying drug-free and things like that. Those are the things that are required for an individual on parole. Now, you take an individual that's been incarcerated for 10, 15, 20 years. Now, that person does not know a whole lot about how to function in society. Now, he may be the most intelligent person you may run into because they've developed themselves within, but they have not
world-wise.
Right. They hadn't functioned out here in society. So they get out and they make little simple mistakes, like being in the wrong. I know a guy that was incarcerated 21 years, got out in the wrong place at the wrong time, got convicted of a misdemeanor. And they just shoved him back into the system. as a result of being convicted of a misdemeanor just because of trespassing. This is, I mean, trespassing. And now he's back in the system, having to deal with the system, again, being revoked on his parole and all of that stuff. But, you know, Dr. Haney, there are answers to this problem, to this situation where people go in and out of the system. And the answer comes in terms of programs. Programs that can educate, programs such as ours, the Introduction to Resolving Errors in Thinking curriculum that we have in place right now at Riverbend, that we're hoping to expand into other areas, into all the prison systems. And then programs set up on the outside. We're in the process of working with some things, trying to network with some other agencies to try to put together some programs so that when people come out of the system, that they'll have somebody, they'll have somewhere to go into. Somebody can walk them through some processes that they're not familiar with when they get out in society, and to help them to go through these things, to help them to be responsible. You know, sometimes you say, well, you can't lead somebody, you just can't carry somebody, just hold them by the hand. But in situations like that, people need to be held by the hand because it's a brand new world to them. It's like a baby coming into a new world, into a new existence after being incarcerated all those years. You know, when you're incarcerated, Dr. Haney, they tell you, they tell you when to get up. They tell you when to go to bed. They tell you when to eat. You don't have the choices that you have. You don't know how to go to the grocery store and shop because you didn't have to do that. So you have to learn all these things. Somebody has to be there to walk you through the process. There needs to be some living skill training programs in place for people that's coming out. And that's what New Beginnings is about doing. That's what we're in the process of trying to put together. And that's, we're looking for support in that area also.
Well, let me raise this question here, Reverend Walker. It seems to me, as we get ready for this this minute before this break, let me say, and let me have you to speak to this when we come back. But it does seem to me that if we could say that more than half of the individuals who are paroled will find their way back into the system, primarily through violations, technical violations, as you call them, wouldn't it make more sense in terms of saving state dollars to keep those individuals from coming back into the system on those technical violations? I mean, wouldn't it be possible for some other kind of program that could be worked out to deal with those technical violations without having them come directly back into the system? Is that what would that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a whole lot of sense, Dr. Haney. When it talks in terms on the summary of this report, if I could read it real quickly, it said, in light of this and given the social and monetary costs associated with housing an inmate compared to the continued supervision in the community, it is clearly worth an increased emphasis and policy focus on interventions that work to keep parolees on probation.
Very good. And of course, let me stop here for this second commercial break, and we'll allow you to pick that up when we come back.
All right.
And we'll be back with our audience following this short commercial break. You see what we mean?